Hi everyone, welcome back. You're still with us here on the C Morning Show. We're just about set for our first discussion of the morning, but first we have a story that is somewhat related to share with you, where authorities, the health authorities, reported on Saturday that over 19,000 children were diagnosed with pneumonia across Pakistan's northeastern province of Punjab over the past month alone.
That's right, Paul. Now at least 220 children have unfortunately died of pneumonia in the province since the new year.
The situation has further been worsened by cold weather, smog, and dust. A senior health official in the country has described the scope of the situation, saying that between 55,000 to 60,000 children have died from the disease every year, and that this is not the first time this has occurred.
Cold wave still grips Pakistan as the country's central and northern parts received heavy rain and heavy snowfall within the last few days.
Now, as we know, pneumonia is not limited to just any country alone. And to better understand about pneumonia and how we parents here in Indonesia can protect our children from this particular disease, joining us this morning is pediatrician Dr. Shela Sundawa. Good morning, Doc. Thank you for being
here. Good morning, Doctor.
Morning.
Thank you for joining us.
So can we first, before we talk about this specifically in children, can we talk a little bit about pneumonia? For those that aren't aware, what exactly is pneumonia?
So pneumonia is infection in our lower respiratory tract infection.
Okay.
So it is affecting our lungs.
Okay.
And pneumonia, usually the manifestation, the clinical manifestation of them are difficulty in breathing. But before that, usually children develop coughing or fever. Yes, so those are the common manifestation of the pneumonia.
Okay, this is quite difficult for even us adults to diagnose ourselves, because a lot of times when we catch a cold, sometimes it produces the same symptoms, right? We get a cough and then we just kind of hope it'll go away. And then when we get a fever, a lot of us kind of think, oh, maybe it's a flu. But there's always this concern that, hey, if it goes on for too long, this can become pneumonia, correct?
Yes, so for children, it is easier for them to develop pneumonia from the usual cold.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Why so?
So because the children itself, they have lower immune reaction.
Okay.
And sometimes those children that have the lower immune reaction to fight from the infection of pneumonia.
Okay.
So it is being said that there are risks for those children. So usually, commonly, healthy children can fight the infection.
Right.
But those with the lower immune system cannot.
Okay.
And those children who has a lower immune reaction are those who have in undernourishment, or if they did not receive adequate breastfeeding from the birth until 6 months. And also it is difficult for children to get their mucus out. And that is why most of those who have common cold can become complicated with pneumonia.
They can develop into pneumonia.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, Doc, in comparing adults with children, you mentioned that children are more prone to getting it. They're easier to catch the virus. With that being said, is it also easier for them to overcome it in comparison to adults? Because I know so many adults who actually have pneumonia, and it actually takes a really long time for them to recover, or they don't fully recover from it at all. Now for children, is it the same case, or is it easier for them to sort of fight the infection?
So if we look at the pneumonia, we might see that the problem can be mild, moderate, or it can be in a severe form of pneumonia.
Okay.
Well, it is very according to the foundation of those children, whether they are undernourished, whether they have a good immune system. So if they have pneumonia, those children who have a good nutrition status and those who have a good immunization, they have a complete immunization status, they may have pneumonia, but it is in a mild form of them. So if the problem of pneumonia is in a mild or moderate, it usually will recover perfectly. those children will completely recover from the pneumonia. Well, it's virtually said that almost all the children who have pneumonia can resolve completely from the disease. But it needs some help if those children come with the severe form of the disease.
This can last quite a long time. Like Karina said, some people get pneumonia, they seem to have it like forever. So what are we looking at here when it comes to time or duration?
Okay, so it is an acute infection. As you say, pneumonia is an acute infection that affects the lung. So as it is an infection that is come acutely, it happens usually during first week, and then it should recover from the first week if we give them the proper treatment.
Well, and that would be, is there antibiotics?
Yes, if they need, well, we usually give them oxygen if they need it.
Okay, for difficulties in breathing.
Yes, and then of course we need antibiotic, and then we usually need intravenous resuscitation of a fluid, because some of the children also, we know that when children are sick, they usually...
Loss of appetite.
Yes, loss of appetite, then they come vomiting, and those can be complicated the problem of the pneumonia itself.
Okay, it can make it worse in that case. So just to clear things up here, is this something that is transferable? Like, is it contagious? Is it something that can be passed around during school when it comes to kids? You know, they're always exposing themselves to colds. My kid comes home with a cough and a cold all the time. It's usually nothing to be alarmed about, but should we be more aware of this when it comes to being contagious?
Yes, the problem, of course, it is contagious because it is caused by, usually for children, it is usually caused by viruses and bacteria. Yeah, so if we live in a crowded house, that there are many people live in the house and someone are sneezing or coughing, it can transmit the disease to the children. And for those children, it may become a common cold, but as we discussed earlier, that it can become worsened into a pneumonia form.
So basically, pneumonia can be passed on just as a regular cold, but it can develop into pneumonia if one's immune system is low.
Yes. And Doc, you mentioned that it's an acute sort of infection as well. Now, pneumonia itself, does it have a long-term effect? With that being said, if a kid has it early on in at their age, would they then be able to develop it later on in life, even though they've sort of recovered from it? I know a nephew of mine had asthma, and maybe this is not something you compare it with, but because I'm also learning here, is it something like that when it just sort of, it comes back, it carries on, or can you completely recover from it where you don't develop it later on?
Are you saying like you might be more susceptible to get it again
easier?
Later?
Obviously depending on the environment as well, but is there a high chance for it to come back?
So if some children, they get pneumonia earlier in their life, some studies says that if they have a good nutrition and then they have a good immune system, they are exclusively breastfed, and then they have a complete immunization, they can recover completely. So it is an acute disease. It means that when it's over, then it's over. So it's resolved completely for almost all the children.
As opposed to something that's chronic.
Yes.
Like asthma would be something that is chronic. So you mentioned good nutrition a couple of times already. What are we talking about when it comes to good nutrition? Not all of us parents are aware of what good nutrition is.
Okay, so if we talk about infant, then from birth to 6 months, good nutrition is give them exclusive breastfeeding.
Right.
That is very important. It shows that exclusive breastfeeding can protect children from acute infection, not only pneumonia, but also diarrhea and so on. Yes, and then we move on to the age of 6 months and into 1 year old when we start complementary food.
Solid food.
Yes, solid food, yes. And then we need to give them enough protein, you know. We need to give them enough carbohydrate from the solid food itself, but also we need to continue the breastfeeding if it's possible.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
You're feeding your kids right.
Well, no, that's the thing. The concern with our third is that so far she's been perfectly healthy. She's 1.5 now, but our third child, we weren't able to give exclusive breast. We just, my wife just wasn't producing like was for the first two children. It was like 1.5 years of breastfeeding. So that brings me to my next question. For those that aren't able to provide like 6 months of exclusive, we call it ASI here. What are immunizations? What sort of immunizations can our kids get for this?
Okay, well, whether we give them exclusive breastfeeding or not, we still need to give them complete immunization, right?
Okay, yes.
Okay, so the immunization that is protecting from the pneumonia, first is what we call as a combine of diphtheria, pertussis, tetanus, and Haemophilus influenza
Yes, I
B
remember
vaccine. That one, yeah. We usually give them during the month of 2, 3, 4 months of
Yes.
age, and it's available. It's free from the government. And then we need to give them the influenza vaccination, and also we need to give the PCV, pneumococcal vaccine. It also is free from the government.
Okay.
And we, at the age of around 9 months, we need to give the measles infection,
Right.
MR vaccine.
Okay, so those very important.
Not to know
I
down.
got behind during the pandemic to keep up with these
Yeah.
vaccinations, but a lot of them you can do catch-ups as well.
Yes,
So important for us to know that.
Now, last question, Doc. You've mentioned all the nutrients aspects of things. What about good hygiene? Are there any good habits that we can practice at home, both, I guess, for ourselves and also
Sure.
for our children?
Yes, of course. It is very important that we keep in mind those that we learned from the pandemic, cleaning our hand with soap.
Yes.
And then we need to reduce the indoor air pollution as well.
Right, that's
Yes.
It's
true.
not only outdoor, it's indoor
Yes,
as well.
yeah, in the indoor air pollution, because most of the time our child live at home, right?
Yes.
So if we, I think there is very the use of the smoke or the smoking. Sometimes if we use if we burn, if you are using the coal or we are using the wood from the fire, I think maybe it's not the urban problem, but it's more of the rural problem.
Yes.
There are more people who use those kind
Yeah.
of use this kind of utensil in their home, but however, in our urban place, in our urban setting, there are still so many parents that are smoking inside the house. Yes.
Okay.
And that is also the problem. But the indoor air pollution is also can increase if we live in the area where it's near the street or it is near the factory, and that is one of the things that can also increase the indoor problem, the air pollution.
I was telling Karina that our air quality has gotten better recently,
Yeah.
probably due to all the rain that we've gotten, so we're able to get more fresh air. So that's probably a good thing. Thank you so much, Doc. So real quick, if we are parents and we notice our kids coughing, how long should we wait before we, take concern and bring them to a doctor and get them checked to see if it's pneumonia or not? Because many kids are suffering a cough these days.
Right. I don't think that it depends on the days, but it depends on the severity of the symptom.
Gotcha.
So we need to see if they have difficulty in breathing. Yep.
Okay. All right.
Difficulty in breathing can result if we see them that they are rapidly breathing,
Yes.
or it become in chest, in drawing, a deeper breathing,
Yeah.
difficult effort of breathing. Yeah.
Okay.
Those kind of things we need to be concerned more about pneumonia.
All right, very important to note. Hope that you are all staying healthy out there. As Karina said, it is weather has been a little
On
bit
and off.
unstable lately, and we need to look out for these things. Thank you once again,
Thank you
Doc,
so
for
much,
coming
Doc.
by and sharing your knowledge in regards to pneumonia. And we hope that you're able to find some insights from this discussion as well. We will have to take another short break here on the program, though. But in case you joined us late, we will bring you more updates from around the world when we return. Stay with us.